Guys, knuckle conditioning's coming on. You might have seen some of my previous stuff earlier today. On a separate note, on the UFC side, we have tomorrow UFC 252, and that will be basically the deciding fight for the the greatest heavyweight champion in UFC history, which is Miocic versus Cormier III. As you probably know, it's 1-1, so Cormier won the first decisively, I would say. Miocic won the second. I wouldn't necessarily say decisively in the same sense as Cormier, because actually, if you analyze both fights together, Cormier actually won the most rounds if you put both fights together, and more dominantly, I would argue. So essentially what we're dealing with here is it's a tricky one, because as you probably know, after the second fight, there were many things. That had occurred in Cormier's life. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe his father passed away like a few days before the event, or something to that regard, which, as we all know, has a huge impact on you, and it would have a massive impact on him as a competitive athlete, fighting one of the biggest fights of his career, no doubt. We had that. He was just coming off back surgery. And generally, if you analyze, if you sit and watch the fight, you'll see that he's dominating. I would argue he's doing, he's dominating in the beginnings of the fight. He's winning the rounds, and he kind of he starts to gas out, and he gets a bit reckless, and he's with his style, because he's much shorter than Cormier. He's reaching, putting his fingers out, just reaching and kind of loosely throwing strikes, etc. And he's still doing well. He's still dominating. Most experts, if you go and look at some different analysis videos, will agree that generally Cormier, if you put both fights together, has won the most rounds. The key difference in the second fight is that Miocic is arguably the best of all time right now, and that's why this is a deciding fight. But he essentially is the best of all time, heavyweight wise, in the UFC, and we can see he's got very high fight IQ, and he made kind of mid to last part of the fight kind of adjustments, or what do they call it, championship round adjustments, and then he noticed, obviously with Daniel Cormier's kind of body structure, etc., he noticed this opening, for body strikes. He landed many body strikes. Cormier was already gassing out. That just gassed him out further, and then it was a TKO knockout. But once again, let's end this video shortly. But go back and watch. I challenge you, go back and watch both fights up until that adjustment. Now, I apologize, I don't know off the top of my head which round it was that he made that adjustment to the body in the second fight. I believe it was after the third round, but just correct me if I'm wrong on that. I think it was the championship rounds. But analyze all the rounds before that. The first fight, the second fight. Dominant in the first, and then Miocic got knocked, TKO knockout, I believe it was, or was it a knockout? In the clinch, which Daniel Cormier really likes to do. So we have that, and then essentially, if you watch the second fight, Cormier is also dominating, and then all those factors build up. Miocic goes for the body strikes, he's already gassing out, gets knocked out, TKO, I believe it was. What's going to happen in this fight? Well, I think Cormier has worked on his conditioning. His back is healed. He's going to focus on the wrestling. He's going to listen to his corners this time, and he's going to be a lot more careful. He's not going to take Miocic lightly. Obviously, he's got over the death of his father and other issues. And so I think we're going to see more wrestling. He did show some dominant wrestling um, in the previous fights. So I think I'm going for a technical knockout of Stipe. So let's see what happens, guys. Very hyped for this fight. Um, let's check it out tomorrow. Happy days.